Mandy did a fantastic job the other morning at the business breakfast. I don't know if any of you were able to attend, but she managed the questions beautifully.
Very good.
So once again, anybody who thinks that they've come to the Brett Sutton event today, that's next week. Welcome, Mark. Welcome, Ted. Welcome, Deb.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Everybody's arriving quickly.
Marion, that was sad about Bob Cook. I rang 4 different aged care places on Sunday in Brighton, trying to track him, he and Gillian down, and then to get the news.
That's very sad.
I know. And
yeah,
I used to see him regularly at my hairdressers, and he was fantastic. And then I did email the Sun to see if I could get the address for Gillian, but that email address that was listed wasn't right. So
what a shame.
Oh, I didn't get a bounce on that email, but I didn't get a response either.
Welcome to the E-Club of Melbourne. We've got them joining us.
Peter, you might have done what I did initially. I sent it to gmail.com, but if you look at it closely, it's just mail.com.
no, I sent it to mail, Pete.
Oh, did you? Oh, right. Yeah.
Look,
I messed it up.
I'll ring the funeral directors to get the address for Gillian.
Bruce, have you done your homework?
Oh, hi, Bev. David Carruthers, welcome. We've got a great turnout. We've got the district governor and the assistant district governor attending today. So looking forward. Welcome, Peter Rogers. I can't just say Peter anymore because there's so many. David Danoon, lovely to see you. Robin Syme, nice to see you too. Bill Pickett, lovely. Adrian? Cynthia? Kevin, welcome. Awesome. Lots of people. Clive, welcome.
Sorry, Marion, can you confirm you got that email from Bruce?
I just sent you something in the chat. I haven't got anything from Bruce.
Okay, he's just sent it. That's the one to read out.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
If anyone's here for the Professor Brett Sutton lunch, that's next week at 2:30. You need to go back to the Facebook link and sign up for the 2:30 2nd of September event.
Let me know when you think it's bell time, Joe.
Give it a couple of minutes still.
Yep.
Carolyn here. I heard Carolyn was coming from Kevin today.
Yes, I'm online.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Bob Lindemann here.
Oh, welcome.
Yes, he is.
Welcome, everyone.
He's muted.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Alan Trumbull.
He's unmuted now.
He is.
Okay,
Give-
Bob.
Give it another minute.
You know the routine.
I've observed it once or twice.
After the 3rd ring of the bell.
At the 3rd stroke.
Just one more time, if there's anyone here for the Professor Sutton presentation, that's next week.
Yep.
You need to go back and register for the 2nd of September.
Oh, okay.
Good, will do.
So a few people thought that Brett Sutton was speaking today, but he'll be speaking next week. So details can be found with in an email that's been sent to you. Welcome, everyone. Gosh, we've got a wonderful turnout for the district governor and the assistant district governor and our new members lunch format. So we're about to get underway.
Let's go.
Ready to go, Joe?
Yep.
Well, good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. My name is Bob Glindeman and I'm the RMC for today's meeting of Rotary Melbourne. We'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri and Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation and also pay our respects to elders past, present and future, and extend that respect to all Indigenous Australians present today. As everybody knows, throughout the duration of the meeting, your microphones will be muted and all of your accolades, comments and questions can be posted via the Zoom chat function throughout the presentation. A big reminder of the Fighting Fund. That Fighting Fund, your donation in lieu of lunch supports the activities. The link is published in the club bulletin every week. So make sure you book in for that and buy a lunch. Thanks today will be given by Ross Scholes-Robertson, followed by the Loyal Toast presented by President Marion McLeod. Please ensure that you have your glass or other separate appropriate vessel in charge, and I've just turned off my phone. My apologies. Ross, it's over to you.
Well, thinking about all of the Melburnians who are single and living in isolation, and having heard about the great work Lifeline is doing to counteract loneliness, mental instability, and even suicidal tendencies, I decided to remind myself about how Lifeline was brought into our community. Well, Melbourne Rotary had everything to do with it. Our member, Reverend Arthur Preston, the inspirational head of Wesley Central Mission, with strong financial support and member participation from our club, was able to get it underway just on 50 years ago. Indeed, it was our 50th anniversary project, and now in our centenary year, it seems with the coronavirus rife in our community, Lifeline is needed more than ever. Good to see the ABC TV regularly telling people of its availability, and you only have to ring the Lifeline telephone number. So this wonderful work Rotary did in the past is still operational, as well as many other past projects, plus those still on our agenda today. I like these words of yesteryear, said to be the motto of John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist Church in England centuries ago, which could be our motto in Rotary today. Do all the good you can, by all the means you have, in all the ways you can, and at all the times you can, as long as you ever can. For each of us to consider, some of the means we have is to make donations and bequests to our club's community foundation. Today, as always, we give thanks for good food, wonderful leaders and speakers, and our friendly fellowship together through Zoom.
Thank you, Ross. Rotarians and guests, a toast to Australia and Rotary International. Australia and Rotary International.
Australia and Rotary International.
Well, it's with regret today that I sadly announce the peaceful passing of our beloved member, Bob Cook, last Saturday evening at the age of 91. Bob leaves behind his wife, Gillian, and children, Hamish, Alistair, Matthew, and Kirsten, as well as 9 grandchildren. Bob was a distinguished oral surgeon and great friend to many, and he joined our club. His family came to Australia in 1936 from New Zealand, and he was inducted in December 1981. As they said, he never sat when he could stand, never stood when he could walk, never walked when he could run, and often skied, socialized, farmed, and traveled. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, a funeral service will be streamed online via Rose Funerals Brighton this Friday, the 28th of August at 3 p.m. And a celebration of Bob's life will be held at a later date once restrictions ease. Members, visitors and guests, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to our 9th meeting in our 100th year and our first of the members' lunch format. With that sadness, I'd also like to announce some good news. I've just learned that RI President Holger Knack has just announced that polio has been eradicated in Africa. So that is a bit of good news in the sadness around us. Today, we're going to have an internal focus, and we'll profile selected aspects of Rotary Melbourne projects and activities, but not before we have the opportunity to hear from our special guest speaker, District Governor 9800, Philip Archer, on his official visit to our club. Philip is well known to many of our members and will be more formally introduced shortly. And also here from District is our Assistant Governor, Batman Cluster, Kate Strain. Also waiting online, we have Bruce Harmer, who will be inducted into our club shortly. And here, for a very special Paul Harris presentation, we have past President Robert Fisher and Myra. Would you please join me in making our guest speaker, our guests, and all other visitors to our club today welcome. Welcome. Our next reflection on some key Rotary moments as we travel through our 100th anniversary includes a Did You Know for Peter Clemenger AO. He was responsible for two key projects in our club. After losing the 1996 Olympics bid, he established an alternative event, the very popular Melbourne Food and Wine Festival, which is now a major Melbourne event. This is actually in part credited with creating Melbourne's culinary culture and is a hallmark event in the Victorian calendar. He also introduced the Let's Read programme, first at Rosebud West Primary School, which went from the bottom 10% of Victorian primary schools to the top 10% today. So again, great projects that Rotarians do. And now to the induction of Bruce Harmer into membership of Rotary Melbourne. Can I ask Bruce's sponsor, past President Kevin Sheehan, to formally introduce Bruce to the club?
Go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you, President Marion. It gives me much pleasure to introduce for membership Major Bruce Hilton Harmer, a Minister of Religion who holds the position of National Head of Public Relations of the Salvation Army and Assistant Executive Officer of the Melbourne Staff Band as an accomplished cornet player. Known in our club as Bruce, he'll have the classification of NGO Salvation Army. Hailing from Bowen, North Queensland, and having lived in many parts of Eastern Australia, Bruce, a carpenter by trade, has notched up 30 years of service as an officer of the Salvation Army. Bruce is no stranger to Rotary as a former member of 3 Rotary clubs spanning the years of 1996 to 2011, the last with Rotary Townsville, where he served as president in 2007-2008. He's no stranger to Rotary Melbourne, having participated in our Safe Families Path of Hope working group with Rotary Perth on the 27th of June 2019, and was a recipient of the Salvation Army, for the Salvation Army, of Robert Fisher's Come From Away fundraiser, and participated in our bushfire recovery panel at our in-person meeting on the 15th of January this year. Bruce is married to Carolyn, who is also a minister, and it joins him today on screen. And they have 4 sons, 2 daughters-in-law, and 2 grandchildren. Bruce will rekindle our historical involvement with the Salvos and will be a member of the Canterbury Waverley Group. Thank you.
Bruce, we welcome you as a member of the Rotary Club of Melbourne. You have been chosen because your fellow members believe you to be a leader in your vocation and have the personal and professional qualities that will ensure the principles of Rotary will be safe in your hands. As a former member of the Rotary Clubs of Townsville and Blackwater, Queensland, and Toronto, New South Wales, you are already experienced in the application of the object of Rotary. And with the help of your fellow members, you will, I'm sure, quickly feel comfortable in the companionship and service of our organisation. The Rotary badge, which I hope you will wear with pride and has been couriered to you, is, as you well know, your entry to the thousands of Rotary clubs around the world. Bruce, we welcome you most warmly into continued membership of Rotary, and so with this expectation, offer you the right hand of fellowship and ask that members join me in welcoming you to membership of our club. Welcome. Perhaps you'd like to say a few words.
Yes, President Marion, thank you so much for that warm welcome. I'm really looking forward to engaging with Rotary again. Rotary International and the Salvation Army, which is also international, share so many common values, and we often work together, as we've discussed at a Rotary Club of Melbourne meeting in the past. And I look forward to playing my part. I want to say a special thank you to past President Kevin for his support for me and my family during my grandson's illness. He's been a good support there, and I really do appreciate that. I look forward to playing my part each week and getting involved wherever possible to further the principles and ideals of Rotary.
Thank you, Bruce. And now the recognition as a Paul Harris Fellow, which was established in 1957 in honour of Paul Harris, who founded Rotary in 1905. It's the tradition of this club and many others in this part of the world to honour, by naming them as Paul Harris Fellows, members and non-members who have helped build a better world by their outstanding contributions to the club and or the community. People who practice the Rotary motto, service above self, to a notable degree. Now, I couldn't possibly read the full citation of what Robert has done for our club. That full transcript will be recorded in the bulletin, but I'd like to take a moment to share some key points here. Robert was first sponsored by Peter Marfleet, who thought that Robert was winding down from a lifelong career in the book industry. That had taken him originally from Glasgow, then around the world to Johannesburg, New Zealand, and then Australia. However, as you can see, he has probably been busier than ever since he joined Rotary. Robert was Managing Director of Pearson Education and of the Inc. Group in Sydney, and then CEO of Collins Booksellers based in Melbourne. He was also a director of Penguin Books, both in Australia and New Zealand, and later a director of the Australian Publishers Association and Copyright Agency Limited. And he now puts his international leadership skills to good use as a management consultant and executive mentor. He has chaired the Interclub Visits Committee and served on Welfare of the Young, Arts, 0808, Vocational Service, International Service, Welfare of the Young, Membership Engagement and Review, Corporates and R100 committees, as well as having been president of our club. These are just some of the committees that he supported and served on. His project involvement includes today's project, Give Every Child a Future, as well as End Hepatitis, Second Bite, Rotaract, and the David Whitner Mentoring Award. He has also created closer ties with the City of Melbourne. His presidential year, as you'd all remember, in 2018-19 was stellar, and on the dais, he was relaxed, warm, engaging, and inclusive. Board meetings ran like a well-oiled machine, and he was awarded the District Governor's Recognition Award. Robert also enjoys the Fellowship of Rotary and is always a regular and enthusiastic participant in the Baldwin Group. And Robert and Myra are regular attendees at the annual district conference, including all of the pre-conference activities. We all know Robert Fisher as smiling, engaging, and affable, and also dynamic, strategic, and focused. He ticks all the boxes, and his contribution to the club and humanity has been immense, and we are very proud to honour him as a Paul Harris Fellow. Robert, for a sustained commitment to service above self, it gives me great pleasure to be the president of the day to name you, on behalf of the board and the members of the Rotary Club of Melbourne, a Paul Harris Fellow, elevating you to 3 sapphires. Your Paul Harris pin and citation will be delivered to you in due course. I'd now like to call on you to respond.
Well, thank you for your extremely generous words, President Marion.
I well remember when you and I attended the district conference in Melbourne, I think back in 2012, when we spent most of the time trying to figure out what on earth Rotary was all about. Well, Rotary came to me at a time in my corporate life, which does continue, by the way, a time when pressure was somewhat less than previously. Sometimes we talk glibly about giving back to the community, but it really was something I wanted to do. And since then, it has become a significant and very satisfying part of who I am. As I so often say, the real work of Rotary is in our projects, and that's still what gets me going. I thought the pinnacle of my Rotary journey, if I can use that much hackneyed word, was being invited to be president of Rotary Melbourne. But this award in the name of our founder is the cherry on the top. So my thanks to the board, to our CEO, Joe Mavros, and members generally for this recognition. It really is special. In accepting this honor, I'd like to acknowledge the constant support of my wife, Myra, my Rotary mentor, Chris Wang, and my many friends and colleagues in Rotary Melbourne. My wish is that as Rotarians, we will always celebrate that we are volunteers doing the very best we can to make this a better world, because that is a reward in itself. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Robert. A very worthy Paul Harris. Congratulations. I'd now like to introduce our guest speaker, District Governor Philip Archer. He was a charter member of the Rotary Club of South Bank in 1999, where he has also been president twice. He's held numerous Rotary board and leadership positions at club, district and zone level, and was a director of the Rotary Foundation until very recently. Philip has been managing director of the Archway Group for over 35 years and has been a guest speaker at numerous industry forums. He's currently chairman of Upbeat Arts, previously known as the School of Hard Knocks, and has served on a number of boards. Please join me in welcoming Philip to speak to us about the year ahead.
Thank you, President Marion. Thank you, members of the Rotary Club of Melbourne, for having me as your guest speaker today. It's indeed an honour to be here in your centenary year. But before I start, I'd like to acknowledge our Indigenous First Peoples. In the spirit of reconciliation, Rotary acknowledges the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend and respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Thank you. I'd like to say to Bruce and Carlin Hamer, welcome to our Rotary family. I'm sure you will absolutely have a wonderful time and make a huge contribution, Bruce and Carlin. And Robert and Myra. Robert, congratulations on your Paul Harris recognition today. It is certainly well deserved. Thank you for doing all that you have been doing and will do, I'm sure, in the future. An amazing accolade, so thank you. Folks, I want to echo the words that President Marion used earlier in telling you the good news that the African region has just been certified by our RI President Holger Nack as polio-free for the first time. That means 47 countries of the African region are free of polio because of the work of Rotarians like us around the world. So can we have a round of applause for that amazing achievement? I'd like to now share with you just a few thoughts in my remaining 10 minutes off the Rotary Club of Melbourne and your centenary. I'm so absolutely delighted to be the District Governor in the centenary of Rotary And I've got to tell you, the work that your club has done over a century deserves the best year in celebration, but more importantly, a year ahead where you are helping to develop Rotary for the next century of Rotary in Australia. I've met with your board earlier today, and I'm absolutely astounded with the work that is going on behind the scenes in this year, despite of COVID-19, in the way you're reaching out to businessmen and women, to young folk, and to our community partners through your Rotary Club's activities. Thank you for everything that you are doing. As a district, we support you wholeheartedly. We are part of your clan, and I have to say to you that our presidents in the 65 clubs and our members are right behind you in your celebrations. I'm also buoyed with the opportunities that are being shared with us in Rotary across the zone and across the ditch for the centenary celebrations. There is much going on, and there is much that will happen in the next 12 months. So congratulations to each one of you for the centenary and for the leadership that you've shown over the last 100 years. Meeting the board today, I'm particularly impressed with what you're doing with Safe Families and with the centenary celebrations and with the support of our Rotary Foundation. I'm particularly impressed with what you're doing in membership, with Shanti and her team doing an incredible job and having an ambitious task to reach out to people in this very difficult centenary year that we've ended up with because of COVID-19. I'm sure, though, that we'll end up with a great set of achievements in membership and in all of the community service activities that we engage with and in. I'm really buoyed by the activities of Joe Mavros and the board, and I wish you well for the coming 12 months in all of the work that you have identified and all of the work that you will look to do because of the changes that COVID-19 is giving us. Now, we have to be realists. In this next 12 months, it is going to be tough for us. But as Rotarians, we remain optimistic. We must remain realistic. We must encourage our community and those doing it tough through our example and leadership. We wear our badge with pride, with dignity, and with community in mind. There is a lot for us to do, despite the year that we hadn't planned for, and we will do our best work together as a group, not just as Rotary Club Melbourne members, but the Rotary family across Australia and in our district. So thank you for everything that you're doing, and I look forward to celebrating the year ahead, but also looking to place us in the best possible way for the next centenary in Rotary in Australia. Marion, we talk a great deal about the club's activities, and I've got to also acknowledge Kate Strain for her leadership in the cluster. I know that as a club, you are taking a leadership role, not just in the cluster, but in the district, and I congratulate you for that. I'm looking forward to being of help where I possibly can in the coming 12 months. Thank you again for having me as a guest speaker today, and I encourage you all to remain positive, optimistic, and true to Rotary in community service and service above self. Congratulations.
Thank you, Philip. I'd like to thank you for your presentation today. And in addition to the great support that you're giving us now, you gave us enormous support as District Governor-elect and now as District Governor, as has Kate Strain in the Batman cluster. Also, your enormous support of our Celebratory Year and the R100 initiatives, not just in our club, but all the work that you've been doing to promote that in other clubs as well. It came to my attention that our traditional gift of socks might be somewhat in oversupply in your office. So we've put aside a gift of the history of our club for you. This book will be posted out to you shortly. It's
I
now
wear
my
my
pleasure.
socks with pride, Marion.
We thought you might have had too many of them, so we're going to give you the history of our club as well. So it's now my great pleasure to hand over this meeting to our members' lunch chair, David Carruthers, to further introduce some of our other speakers today.
Thank you, President Marion. Our two-part program today will address a special theme for the month and a major project. Firstly, our special theme for the month is bequests. And I've been very fortunate to have Adrian Nelson, our video guru, who's prepared a journey for us that provides a broad introduction to our contributions to society over the last 100 years. A number of the projects mentioned are part of our contribution to the R100 celebrations. So, Reg, over to you. get your breath back after that. Quite stunning, wasn't it? Very special thanks to Adrian Nelson for that compilation, which included a vast array of the projects, and there are many more, Adrian, that we could highlight. I trust that Ari and Dorothy will be making sure that plenty of people have access to that video when they want to see it. There will be a follow-up email to all members of the club focusing on the last couple of slides coming from the club's Community Foundation Committee Chair, Sue McDonald, for how to respond to the call to action. So please look out for that and have your credit cards ready. Okay, the next part is a major project, and I think the clue's been dropped already that our project of focus today is Rotarians giving every child a future. This is one of Rotary Melbourne's R100 projects, which was initiated by Rotary Melbourne and then partnered with the 3 sister clubs who are also celebrating their 100th anniversary, but has gone far broader than that. We'll get an update on the broader implications of other R100 projects at a later date when Hugh Bucknell comes to speak to us, when I can arrange that with him. In the meantime, who better to guide us through Give Every Child a Future than past presidents Chris Wang and our newly bestowed Paul Harris Fellow, past President Robert Fisher. So we could pass across to Chris first.
Thank you, David. Rotarians and guests, Rotary Give Every Child a Future is our centenary international project and is now actually underway in implementation after 3 years of planning. Today, we will provide an update of the project implementation. The program's implementation has started, and it is a 3 to 4 year project with a total budget of $3.9 million US. The first year has been fully funded, approximately $1.3 million for vaccines and cold chain equipment and training. This has happened through a collective effort from most Rotary districts in Australia and New Zealand, and also many Rotary clubs and Rotarians, both local and international. The Rotary Foundation has supported the project with the approval of 9 global grants covering the first year.
It'll get going and then it'll work.
One global grant for each country.
People, I assume you zoom down there to.
With a total value.
Assume you click down there if you want more people.
Down here. 1.3 million so far, and a further 18 global grants planned for the second and subsequent years. I would suspect this would be one of the biggest, if not the most important project after the polio eradication campaign, but supported by the Rotary Foundation. UNICEF is the natural partner for Rotary in this project. It has the necessary experience and expertise in the introduction of immunisation programs such as this, because there has been a long history of UNICEF and Rotary working together closely, especially on polio eradication. Today, we have as our special guest, Rachel Beck from UNICEF Australia, who is Head of Partnerships. Rachel has been of immense assistance to creating a great team between Rotary and UNICEF on this project. Rachel will now update us on the current implementations of the project that is taking place. Over to you, Rachel.
Hi, everyone. Chris, thanks so much for that wonderful introduction, and thanks to everybody for being here today and for standing with us. It's really extraordinary to have such partners, and we're very, very grateful. I've been working in this project for about 2 years now, and it's been an honor and a pleasure, I would say. So I won't take too much of your time. Let me see if I can share my screen. I do have a few slides to share with you just to convey the real impact of the work that you're supporting. As Chris said, this is the Give Every Child a Future project that we are implementing together with Rotary. And we are in the first year of the program. Again, just the highlights here. This is a project in 9 Pacific Island countries to introduce 3 new vaccines. And why have we chosen these 3 vaccines? That's a question we often get. And the reason is that once these countries introduce these vaccines, they will be fully up to date with the recommendations of the World Health Organization in particular. So I have 2 young kids, and I know that when I go to the doctor just tells me what I need to have done for my kids, and there's the full schedule of vaccinations to be done. That's not the case in much of the world, but we're hoping that in these locations, once we bring in these new products, that they will be fully up to date. So let's talk a bit about why this is so important. The Pacific, you know, it's not always in the news. It might not be top of mind right now because it's not the worst affected place in terms of COVID-19. But here's some shocking statistics. 1 child in 41 in the Pacific dies before their 5th birthday, and that's compared with 1 in 250 in Australia. So that really conveys the scale of the need there. The vaccines that we're introducing address pneumonia and diarrhea in particular, which are among the top killers of children. And the HPV vaccine addresses cervical cancer, which is exceptionally high in the Pacific when compared to numbers around the world. This is also a really extraordinary context with huge geographical challenges. 660 islands and atolls across 17.2 million square kilometers. That's roughly the size of the US and Canada combined. So that gives you a sense of what the challenges might be. At the same time, the populations aren't very high, and that's quite interesting because it means that when countries want to procure vaccines, they pay a very high unit cost because they're buying small amounts. And that's where UNICEF comes in. We are the world's largest supplier of vaccines for children, and we have the world's largest humanitarian warehouse in the world. It's based in Copenhagen and Denmark, and it's quite extraordinary. We like to think that we rival Amazon for sheer sort of immensity of logistical capacity. So because of all of those resources, we're able to supply vaccines at very low cost. We negotiate directly with suppliers, and the same is true for all the equipment that you need. So you can see here somebody's got what we call a cold box, and that's the kind of thing that we're sending out. Where are we now? You can see some other materials here. So we're in year 1 of the project, and some of what we've done so far is really the back end. It's the unglamorous work of a project like this. So we've been planning with our government counterparts. We've been training on how to sort of facilitate the new vaccines, but we've also started the procurement process. And another challenge that's pretty significant in this region is the impact of climate change. So wherever possible, we procure items that are sensitive to that challenge. And that means a lot of our equipment is solar powered where possible, so it can withstand interruptions in the supply of electricity, for example. And it's just really up-to-date, cutting-edge equipment that we're sending out. So that's in the process of being procured and sent over. But that leads to my next point, which is that these are not the times we expected to be in 2020. So we're very conscious of the global context with COVID-19. The Pacific hasn't been badly affected to date. We sincerely hope that that will continue to be the case. But unfortunately, what's happening is the logistical operation we had envisioned is much more under threat than we thought it would be. So there's very little capacity to send things out, very few flights. And again, we're negotiating directly with logistical operators to make sure that vaccines are prioritized. But at the same time, we're also working on the ground to make sure that immunizations continue and families aren't afraid to go to health centers. We're really concerned that the impact of the pandemic could actually have a wide-ranging effect that's worse than the disease itself, because other programs are being interrupted. So you'll see here that around the world, at least 30 major measles vaccination campaigns are now at risk of being canceled because of the issue with getting out and going door to door. And so there will really be some spiraling impacts from the pandemic that will affect all of us, even if we're in countries where it's not an immediate issue. The threat of the virus is low. So we're working on two different fronts to make sure that these 3 new vaccines are introduced effectively, but also that the structures are in place and the government counterparts we work with are trained to make sure that they can implement this program. So we're still very hopeful. I know that it's a hard time, it's a challenging time, but we are developing creative solutions for a difficult time. So for example, in the Pacific, we're doing some training of health workers by radio. And in a logistically challenging context, that's especially important because we may not be able to get out to some of those locations for a while. So for instance, in one of the islands where we're working in Tokelau, that is a ship that goes, I think, every 2 weeks from Samoa, and it's at least a 24-hour journey. So even in the best of times, that's not an easy process. But now when transportation is interrupted, it's especially difficult. So we're doing what we can to continue, and we really do envision this project being both very successful and hugely important for the lives of children in the Pacific. I'll stop there and hand over to Robert, but always happy to take questions. And I really do want to say that having partners like Rotary is just monumentally significant for us. It really takes us to the next level. It enables us to reach the children we do. And we're so grateful for your support. That's all from me for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel, for an enlightening presentation. It's great that you are part of the team. Chris and I are delighted that you are working with us on this terrific project. We're really proud to have UNICEF as our partner. And it's a unique project, not just because it's a joint centenary project initiated by the 4 city clubs in Australia and New Zealand, but also because of its sheer scale. And it's terrific to hear that work is underway on the ground despite all the challenges of the current environment. And for us to have certainty that once the initial immunizations are undertaken in each of the 9 Pacific countries, their own governments will continue to protect their nation's children from these diseases into the future. Sustainability has always been a requirement of the project from word go. So each of the 4 clubs is committed to raising $50,000 per annum across 3 years. We're only about halfway there, so we do need ongoing financial help from you, our members, and from your networks. Please talk to Chris Wang or me for more information, especially if you have philanthropic contacts that might be interested in supporting us. And please go to the Give Every Child a Future website for guidance on making your donation, particularly if you haven't supported us before. Remember, every $45 you give will protect one child. Thank you very much for your support.
It falls to me just to thank Adrian Nelson for his video once again, although I see many of you in the chat room have already done that, and the team of three, Chris, Rachel and Robert. A very informative presentation. We weren't proposing to have questions because I think that there's sufficient focus. If you need to inquire about something, you can go back to those individuals. Just to round off, this is the first of the regular monthly internal sessions we propose to have. The concept is to just give the members feedback on selected projects, and I think the next one, Marion, is scheduled for the 30th September, and we'll work along a similar format. Then I'll pass back to you, Marion, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, David, and thank you so much for our first members' lunch and to all of our presenters. I think what this does for all of us as members of this club is show how proud we can be of the projects and the work that everybody's doing. Just a few notices and then a poll before we close. Again, it's sad news to report that Edna Smith, the wife of our member Rodney, passed away on Friday. Edna had been in aged care close to their home for a few years now. Rodney and Edna were active and great supporters of the Rotary Youth Exchange Program for many years. And the funeral will be broadcast this Friday at 10 a.m. by Tobin Brothers for those who wish to attend. We've sent flowers and passed on condolences on behalf of our club. A reminder, nominations to the President's Nominating Committee close at 2:10 today. Nomination forms and any questions should be directed to the Honorary Secretary Russell Board. We currently have 3 completed nominations, so thank you to those who've already nominated. Now to the member poll. Joe and I are going to try and conduct a poll with all of our members today. And this is a poll around what I attended the Centenary President Seminar at the weekend, where District Governor Philip Archer presented some rare insights into the variety of clubs and the amazing projects that are being run in our district. One of his insights was on the life cycle of clubs, and I thought I'd share it with you, and we were going to get Philip's insights. Unfortunately, Philip's had a bit of an emergency and he's had to leave. So Kate Strain has kindly offered to step in and talk to this. What this chart says is that clubs will find themselves at different points, at different times, at different points along this life cycle. New clubs start off in the formative stage, taking lots of risks and looking at opportunities, and that's stage 1. Then, as they become successful, they move to stage 2, where they develop systems and procedures. Stage 3 is where they can become a little bureaucratic and a bit resistant to change. And then, whether we like it or not, we hit the wall at stage 4. And that's when we're faced with a choice. We either head towards renewal, which is stage 5, and a reawakening of service and new activities, or to extinction at stage 6. So what we've done with Joe's help is set up a quick poll in Zoom for you to participate in and to select which stage in this life cycle you believe that our club is in. And then Kate will give us a quick response on this and what it might mean. So just take a moment, pop in your answers. Well, this is interesting. It's moving before our very eyes. We can see where we're at. Okay, so Joe has shared our results. And interestingly, Kate, 57% seem to see us as in renewal, which is wonderful. Would you like to just make a few comments?
Well, I would like to say I'm not at all surprised. This has been an extraordinary meeting to be part of. Your club is amazing. I have been incredibly impressed and learned a lot of everything that has happened. You've got a great leadership team and brilliant people as members. So I just say, keep on keeping on, truly, and sincere congratulations, what you have achieved, and what a brilliant year to be the Rotary Club of Melbourne. So congratulations.
Thank you very much, Kate. And thank you.
Kate, I'm still here, and I just wanted to say I am not surprised that you're in a renewal phase. This augurs really well for not just the centenary celebrations, but how you will be developing the club and helping our district to develop for the next century. Now, I do have an emergency, which I've explained to Marion. So I will say thank you and see you soon. Thank you.
All the best, Philip, and I apologize. I didn't realize you were still here. So it's all that's left for me to do is to thank our MC, Bob Glindeman, thank Ross Scholes-Robertson, and our chairman for today, David Carruthers, for all the great work that he's done, the selected speakers for our meeting, and we look forward to covering some other interesting aspects of our activities in future. A special thanks to our guest speaker, District Governor Philip Archer, and to Assistant District Governor Kate Strain, to all of our members, visitors and guests for attending. And just a reminder that next week's meeting will be held from 2:30 to 3:30 so as to accommodate our special guest speaker, Victoria's Chief Medical Officer, Brett Sutton. The meeting is heavily subscribed already, so don't forget to register. And now our meeting closes with some images of a beautiful art installation from Paris set to some music. Please enjoy, and in the meantime, stay safe and spread kindness.
Starry, starry night, flaming flowers that brightly blaze, swirling clouds of violet haze, reflecting Vincent's eyes of china blue, colors changing hue. Morning fields of amber grain, weathered faces lined in pain, are soothed beneath the artist's loving hand. Now I understand what you try to say to me, how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now, for they could not love you. Still love was true, and when no hope was left inside on that starry, starry night, you took your life as lovers often do. But I could have told you, Vincent, this world was never meant for one as beautiful as you. Starry, starry night, portraits hung in empty halls, frameless heads on nameless walls, with eyes that watch the world and can't forget, like the strangers that you've met. The ragged men in ragged clothes, a silver thorn, a bloody rose, lie crushed and broken on the virgin snow. Now I think I know what you try to say to me, how you suffered for your sanity, how you try to set them free. They would not listen, they're not listening still. Perhaps they'll never will. Starry, starry night, starry, starry night, starry, starry night.
Afternoon, everyone.